This episode of Walt Disney World Today is sponsored by MEI and Mousefan Travel, specializing in cruises and vacation packages to Disney and other destinations around the world. MEI and Mousefan Travel is an authorized Disney vacation planner and the recommended travel planner for allears.net. They provide their signature services with no additional agency fees. To get a no-obligation quote, just visit www.mousefantravel.com.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Wednesday, October 3rd, 2007, and this is episode 317 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm Matt Hodgkirk from MGMstudios.org. On the show today, we have Mr. Perfect, Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome, Mike.
I was hoping you were going with me with that.
And also on the show today is Mike Scopa of MousePlanet.com and All Ears Net. Welcome, Mike.
But they do tell tales.
Muppets.
Nope.
Pirates. Muppets of the Caribbean.
Muppets of the Caribbean.
Muppets of the Caribbean.
And also on the show is Len Tessick, co-author of The Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. How are you, Len?
It's a pleasure to be here, Matt.
It's Wednesday. We're answering your listener questions, and we're going to start off with a question from Paul Schnibelin of Oxnard, California.
Oxnard.
Oxnard, whatever. Who writes, why haven't you been promoting the t-shirt designs on CafePrice.com? The new quote and caricature of the team shirts are hilarious. If you use this on the show, does this qualify me for a freebie for providing an unsolicited shameless plug? Love the show. Keep up the great work.
It's funny you say that. Just this afternoon, I put up the caricatures on some of the shirts.
Did you really?
Just around 4 p.m. this afternoon, while I was waiting for my bus. I was putting them up.
There you go.
So they're up
check out
there.
the shirts on the website. I'll put a link in the show notes to them in case you missed the link on the right-hand side of the page. Next email is from David from Beloit, who writes, I'm definitely going to dress up as Mr. Incredible when my family goes to Walt Disney World for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party on October 26th.
Ooh, we'll be there.
Listening to your show answered a question that I had already had about it being appropriate to dress up at no other time do they allow adults in the park in costume. The problem is, and I think this is a perfect question for Mike Newell to answer, so Mike, I'm gonna ask the other guys, let Mike Newell answer this question. The problem is my wife wants to dress up as one of the Incredibles also, but she looks more like Violet, the daughter, rather than Helen Parr, Elastigirl, Mr. Incredible's wife. So would it be wrong if she dresses up as Violet and then happens to get the huge urge to make out while at the park? Would that be too creepy?
Okay,
Oh, man, now I gotta shower.
I've got the perfect answer for this question. Is that we've answered this already.
We've answered the Incredibles incestuous question.
Yes, we did. This question was asked
Did I miss
already.
this episode? Was I high on that one?
Incestuals.
Is that what the I means? I means incest.
There you go.
Oh well. See you boys in
Creepy
jail.
man.
Oh god, aren't they looking for that guy? Isn't there a national manhunt for that guy? Nothing.
Anyway.
It's wrong. I'm just saying it's wrong, dude.
Yeah, I think you might
Pass.
you might have to pass on that option. Go with a different costume there for your wife. Next email's from Alan Perkins of Queens, New York, who writes, my wife and I are taking my 87-year-old mother-in-law to Walt Disney World this December to see all of the holiday magic. Don't let the old bird's age fool you. She's a bigger kid than both my wife and I put together. Does anyone still use the word bird? Anyway. I don't know how it happened, but our trip is December 7th through the 10th. We're DVC members and booked our vacation 6 months out. I requested either a 1 or 2 bedroom villa at the Boardwalk or the Beach Club, but after being on a waiting list for a few weeks, the only thing I could get was a 1 bedroom at Saratoga Springs. Keep calling, I'm stuck on the wait list, blah, 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 blah. Here's the question. Do I stand a snowball's chance in Florida of getting into the Boardwalk or Beach Club during that time? And I know you just keep saying that MouseFest and Pop Warner doesn't impact the park attendance, but could you just alleviate my anxiety and say it again?
It doesn't impact park attendance. It's going to pack out the value resorts, I think. But I didn't have any trouble last year staying at. In fact, last year I stayed at Boardwalk for MouseFest, exact same time. I think it'll be fine.
The values in the mods probably.
Yeah.
Fill up
But you know what? And if you can't get in the Boardwalk, I think we talked about this before. The deluxe resorts that book up last are the Beach, Yacht, and Boardwalk. So I think if there's any chance at all, it's going to be those three right there.
Okay, so that'll be the perfect thing right there, I think, for that answer. So hopefully Alan will figure it out. By the way, Alan writes, by the way, since I'll be with my mom and the missus, if I even think about MouseFest, I'll be beaten senseless. So if you see a chubby 45-year-old pushing an 87-year-old woman in the wheelchair, please be kind or pretend you know me. That'll make him sufficiently guilty.
I'll be like, dude, man, why didn't you go? We had that trip for you. It was a surprise thing. You answered the listener question. You said your wife didn't want you to go. Oh, man, I'm so sorry. Yeah, we gave it away. We had to give it away there because our sponsor was watching us. Man, better luck next time. Oh, is your wife right here right now? Oh, don't tell her. No, she'll feel bad. No, all right, I'll go say hi. I won't tell her.
Which one's the bird?
Which one's bird?
Yeah. Which one's the fox?
Favor for Newell.
Why am I getting picked on tonight?
Next email's from Ken from Wichita, Kansas, who writes, What's up, gentlemen? I'm new to the podcast. I spent last week listening to 6 of your episodes instead of listening to 300 or more. I'm hoping you'll answer these 3 questions this week. I'm planning to take my kids to Walt Disney World, and so I bought the unofficial guide. And since planning, I skipped to accommodations, and when I read that I should reconsider taking my kids until they're older, so here are my questions. By the time we leave, I'll have a 9-year-old, almost a 7-year-old, and nearly a 3-year-old. We're planning to stay for 8 days. Should I wait another year to take them? I don't want to spend $5,000 and have them remember playing on the grass or the pool as the highlight, like some of the past readers.
I waited till my daughter was 4.5 before I took her first time, and I could have waited till she was 5.5.
I agree.
I know. That's just me. And I definitely could have waited until she was a year older. The first trip was rough. The second trip was much easier. And now, she's a veteran, so.
One of the things that has to be taken into consideration is that you don't want the youngest child denied the attractions that the older children will be going on because the youngest child does not meet the height requirements. You don't want to go through that. So that's another thing to think about. Once you hit that 44, I think mostly it's 44 inches. That might be something to think about too. Obviously, the maturity of the child is something to take into consideration. I think maturity, like Len said, he could have waited another year or so. It depends upon the child, but I'm guessing 5 or 6 would be the absolute youngest I would consider taking a child to Disney World.
Ken also wants to know, we're planning going December 10th or the 18th. Is that a good time to go, or should we reconsider another date?
I'm sorry, what were the dates?
December 10th through the 18th.
Oh, fine. Yeah, perfect. No problem.
Yeah.
You're good.
Okay. Ken also wants to know any recommendation for a resort while he's there.
Is it just him and his sons? Is there a missus?
If there is, he doesn't mention it. I guess he's going there Newell style.
Newell style. 4 people in a room. I'm thinking at least a moderate.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good option right there. I think value will be too cramped.
Yeah, $5,000 for the trip though. And get a travel agent because I think you could do better than 5 Gs unless you're flying.
5 Gs for what? For a week?
First class for 8 days. You shouldn't be spending more than, even if you spend $500 a day, that's still only 4 Gs. Yeah. Still only 4 Gs.
Only, right, Newell?
Oh no.
I think we lost Mike.
I think Newell's passed out.
Next email is from Keith in Elgin, who writes, Matt and the gang, love the show and all the other nonsense that people put up with at the beginning of their questions. I've got a business trip to Orlando planned for this November, 2007, not 2008, Matt. And I'm thinking about extending my stay, pulling the kids out of school, and staying at Walt Disney World for the 5-day trip. We'll be traveling November 10th through the 14th. If we stay at a deluxe or a moderate resort, is a crib available? We have a little one who will be 1 year old when making the trip.
Yes.
Yeah. The crib should be there in the deluxe. For a moderate, you may have to call it in, but it's available.
Yeah, but you'll get one. It's no big deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not a problem at all. And also, Keith wants to know, will the Christmas decorations, Osborne lights, etc., be up by then?
They're up now.
They're up. They're just not lit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what he means. Yeah, obviously they're going to be up. They don't just go in. The Osborne lights go on November 12th. So they will not be there when you get there. They won't be on, rather, but they'll start going on the 10th. So you'll at least be able to see them. Next email is from Ron, a.k.a. Grumpy Fan, writes, "Hi, guys. We're taking some friends down to Walt Disney World in September who have never been." I guess he means 2008, because we always get to our questions really on time.
Nice.
They keep asking what happens if a hurricane comes. We've told them several times not to worry. They Disney is great about handling these kinds of things, and that in the past they've only had to close the parks a few times due to bad hurricane-related weather. Even when they did close the parks, they had fun activities at the hotels and movies on the resort channel, but there had not been any major kind of damage by any of the most recent storms. I was wondering if any of you knew the official number of historic closings at Walt Disney World. Nothing says a hurricane at Walt Disney World like Mike Scopa.
I believe that even when 9/11 occurred, the parks were open for at least a half an hour to an hour, and I believe they closed it sometime between 9 and 9:15 on that day. The only closings that I can recall were on day after a hurricane, Hurricane Charlie, and I'm not even sure if they closed the entire day. Other than that, I'm not aware of any.
There was a couple. I just can't think of offhand.
Yeah, there were a couple. I mean, what was that year that there were like 8 hurricanes? Was it 2004, 2005?
Yeah.
It was recent. It was recent.
Well, you mean all day, Matt, or do you mean like partial openings or whatever?
Either or. I just know that hurricanes affected the parks.
Yeah, they've closed, but I know that what has happened in the past is that after a hurricane, like the Animal Kingdom is the last park to open. They really need to go over every square inch of that park to make sure that there are no
iguanodons don't get out.
Yeah, they're going to make sure that there have been no trees. That they want to make sure that there are no access for predators to predatees, I guess.
Predatize.
Yeah, predatize.
I was flying back from Fort Lauderdale a couple weeks ago, and I won't mention the airline, but the flight attendant notified us that our seat cushions could be used as a flotational device, which I thought was just the funniest thing. Oh, whatever. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Anyway, Ron also writes, "By the way, who's Lou Mongello, and why do you all seem so obsessed with him?" Kidding.
He's evil incarnate, but
He owns a restaurant on the east side of Manhattan. Italian restaurant.
Mention Lou's name. In fact, in pretty much any restaurant in Manhattan, and mention Lou's name, you'll get a discount.
Here you go.
You'll pay extra.
You'll pay extra. It's the Mangello factor.
Next email is from Linda, who writes, "Hi, a listener asked what to do on Thanksgiving Day if they don't want to be in the parks. If they have a car, it would be great to take their sons to Cape Canaveral for the day. It's about a 90-minute trip, but well worth it."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cape Canaveral rocks. Actually, Steve Seifert was here over the weekend, and we talked about doing Cape Canaveral. I think we both really enjoyed it. So, in fact, I have to bring Hannah back. Cape Canaveral was a lot of fun.
I love Cape Canaveral. It's a great day.
It's out of this world.
And if there's a launch, it's even better.
It's just been painful today. How's it, guys?
Anyway, next email is from Brian Sennett. Not to be confused with Bennett.
Here he goes.
Anyway, guys, love the show. You've done a great job so far. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with the show in the future.
He's up to episode 2. Well, episode 1 was a little shaky, but you've done a great job after that. Go ahead.
Anyway, I have a question about an impending trip. We're really looking forward to heading to Orlando for Disney World's 25th anniversary. Any ideas on what they will be doing to celebrate? Do you think they will do anything to the castle for the celebration? I'm also wondering about a couple of rides. Of a 5-year-old, will she be scared of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, or will it be okay? How about Captain EO? Michael Jackson is such a great role model for kids. Next email is from Dave from New Jersey. Where it's, "Hi guys, great podcast. This is for Mike Scopa. I was just at Walt Disney World last week, and at Beaches and Cream, the menu at the takeout window has been changed. I know Mike Scopa has said in the past that he loves the No Way Jose. I tried to order one from the takeout. The cast member at the takeout said they recently changed the menu, and I would have to sit in the dining room in order to order it. The takeout menu is very limited. I don't mind sitting in the dining room, but there's such a long wait. Help, Mike."
I don't recall ever knowing if the No Way Jose was ever on the takeout menu. Yeah, it's so big, it's so huge that you really have to eat it there. I know that the dining room can be crowded, but if you go, don't be afraid to go up and sit at the counter. I think that a lot of people just want to sit in a booth and they prefer sitting in a booth, and that place is really small, and there aren't that many booths, and The tables are kind of crunched, together. I would say don't be afraid to go up to the counter. I mean, especially if you're by yourself. I mean, it's a great treat the day before a 15K race. I'll tell you.
Is it really? You ate that before you went on a 15K race?
Oh yeah, it was cool. Gave me all kinds of fuel.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Next email is from Dave, who writes, "Good evening, gentlemen. I am planning on going back to Walt Disney World in January 2010. Yes, 2010. That is not lying. To run in the third marathon over there. Although we don't go to Walt Disney World every year, we do have 2 small children and plan on going every couple of years. Additionally, we like to stay in nicer accommodations like the added space that the larger DVC accommodations have. My question is, and I guess it'd be a good question for Newell, is it really worth buying a low-point DVC membership such as 50 to 75 points through resale, and do the bank borrow so I have enough points to go once every few years, but stay in a much nicer hotel? I did some rough numbers and felt it could be worth it. I know the DVC is very much centered on Walt Disney World, but does allow you to use 500 other hotels worldwide. Does anyone really do this, and is it worth considering? Newell?
Absolutely. You can get currently there's a sale at DVC by resale for 40 points at Old Key West, and I think it's $80 a point, so it's about $2,400 for the whole thing. So if you went every other year, you can bank and borrow and have 80 points and get yourself a nice little place to stay.
I've got a question for you, Newell. I know that if you buy DVC new through Disney, you have to buy, I think it's 160 points minimum.
It was 150. I'm not sure what it is now.
I thought I read 160.
It could be 160.
Yeah. So if I'm buying on the resale market, do I still have to maintain that minimum, or
No.
can I buy like?
You can buy the minimum. If somebody's selling 10 points, you can buy the minimum 10 points.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
There you go. We should pool our sponsorship money and buy the WDW Today DVC suite.
You each do there once every 4 years.
There you go.
Yeah, so head over to dvcbyresale.com and look at the lower end. I don't mean lower end, but the lower point amounts, and you can get a nice deal.
You meant lower end. Come on. No, not really.
Next email is from Jess from Richmond, Virginia, who writes, "Greetings, Matt, Len, and Mike times 2. Huge fan of the show. Your podcasts have been priceless in helping to plan an engagement trip for me and my fiance this September, 2008. I have a dilemma involving transportation. We'll be staying at Port Orleans French Quarter and have an ADR for Chef Mickey's at the Contemporary on the first morning of our trip at 7:50 a.m. Animal Kingdom opens at 8 a.m. on that day, while the other parks an hour later. I am concerned about being able to make it to breakfast on time, since we will be relying on Disney transportation to get everywhere. Do you guys think we will be able to make it there in time? If so, what is the fastest way to get there? Should we just take a cab? Breakfast should not be this complicated."
What time is the breakfast?
7:50 a.m.
7:50. I mean, if you're on the bus at 7, you should be there in plenty of time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the fastest way is a cab or drive yourself. There's no doubt about that, right, Len?
Yeah. No doubt.
I mean, if it was me and, I don't want to have that feeling in the pit of my stomach, am I going to make it? Am I not going to make it? Am I going to make it? Is that a bus? That's not a bus. That's scope of running. Oh my God, where am I going to get there? You don't want to do that to yourself. So if it was me, I would rent a car. But if you're not interested in that, you might want to consider just getting a cab and going that way.
Right.
Next email is from Roy Hoffs of Bolivar, Missouri, who writes, "Hi guys, in episode 281 you had a question regarding parking for free. The AAA Diamond parking came up. As said, it indeed is not a card for free parking. You do, however, get parking close to the park. They reserve several rows behind handicap parking. We went in February 2006 and only booked the hotel reservation at Scopa Towers through AAA. We got the Diamond parking card and made good use of it. We especially like that when park hopping, it allowed us to stay very close to the entrance, even if we arrived later on in the day." This might be a good opportunity to kind of mention I guess it's an unknown tip about parking generally, because it's always the consensus is, a lot of people say, well, the problem with parking is that, especially if you park hop later, you're going to be parking, in the last lot, in the last row, and have to, wait 3 years to get to the park gate. And it's really been my experience, and I think you guys have shared this experience, that you can really, you're not necessarily stuck all the way out in the middle of nowhere. Generally, I mean, in the beginning of the day, I think the best way, obviously, if you get there early, before park opening, you won't have any problem getting a decent parking spot unless you go during, Christmas or something. The other thing is that when you arrive later in the day, you can often, most of the time, the cast members aren't there doing parking anymore, in which case you can just just pull up, go past the cones that are over there, and drive all the way forward, or ask the cast member. A lot of times, I'll just roll down my window and say, "Hey, look, because it'll be like 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm sure lots of people have left. Can I drive up and try to find a parking spot closer to the gate?" And 9 out of 10 times, it'll let me do it. One time, one guy was like, "Well, why do you want to park there? There's plenty of spots over here." So, at any rate,
you gotta be kidding me.
I know. So, but generally, that's been your experience too, right? Generally?
Yeah, just pull up as far as you can. Yeah.
Yeah. So, don't necessarily, if you get there later in the day and you have to park yourself, don't necessarily settle for, the last lot in the Magic Kingdom.
Don't settle for less.
Next email is from Michelle Class of Littleton, Colorado, who writes, "Hi all, I really enjoy the podcast and all the other info. I have a question about hotels near the Orlando Convention Center. My parents will be going to Orlando for a convention in August, and I suggested that it would be best for them to stay near the convention center during the convention and then move to Walt Disney World Hotel. I always stay on property, so I'm not familiar with what hotels around the convention center are. Would you make some suggestions for hotels, moderate price range, near the convention center?" What?
The Rosen properties. What's the what's the one? It's in the book too. It's like the Rosen Convention Center book. That one's not bad. I didn't say which book.
He definitely meant Burn Bombs. I knew it.
Oh,
I definitely meant the official guide.
I take it back to
There's a couple of Rosen properties that aren't bad there. I think there's the Rosen Convention Center is pretty good, and that's probably where I'd stay. It's look at. I also stayed at the right by the convention center. It's changed its name like 6 times since I was there, but it's the Metropolitan Orlando Hotel Resort Spa, whatever the heck they're calling it these days. There's 2 classes of rooms. There's like a garden view rooms, and then there's tower rooms. I believe it's the garden rooms are less expensive.
Well, there you
can
go.
Also stay there. Not bad. Conveniently located. There's enough fast food around there to do whatever you want to do.
Next email is from Tony Dimitri, who's better known as Epcot's My Favorite on WDWToday.com. Writes, "Hi Matt, I just got done listening to episode 281 where Michael from Utah asked about the possibility of not paying for parking. I have a solution. If time is not a large consideration, he could drive to downtown Disney and park there for free, then take Disney transportation to get around the world. I would recommend parking as close to the Marketplace bus stop as possible. From there, he could take a bus to the Mears Park Resort, for example, take a bus to the Contemporary to get to the Magic Kingdom, or he could walk 5 minutes to the bus stop at Saratoga Springs, Congress Park, and take the bus from there to the parks. Just something to consider." I haven't heard the walking to Saratoga Springs tip before, so that's new to me. Next email is from Joe C., who writes, "Hello all. In Jim Hill's review of the book Reality Land, he includes a story about one of the Walt Disney World monorails catching fire back in 1985. Just the idea of having to climb onto the roof of the monorail, sliding down the windshield to the track without missing, then walking along the 2-foot wide track for a half mile to the TTC sounds like something out of a cheap disaster movie. My question is, was anything done to the monorails to prevent such an improvised escape route from having to be used again in such a case of fire? Do they now have escape ladders, inflatable slides, like on airplanes, parachutes, jetpacks, escape pods?"
I think they do have a safety ladder, if I recall correctly. Jim would know, actually, so this is probably a better question for Jim. The jetpack thing would be cool, though.
They do have improved safety features, because the monorails that they were using in 85 are not the same monorails they're using now, right?
Yeah, there's the Pinto version of the monorails back in 85. Actually, it was the I don't know if you recall, but it was the same people who made Michael Jackson's hair back then made monorails as well as there's the stuffing in the seat cushions, and that's really what caused the issue.
Was that true? They had to walk along the beam?
Can you imagine the liability for that if you fell?
You know how many jokes about don't looking down are being made?
Is that possible though? I don't even know. Is that possible?
You're walking all the way to Contemporary?
To the TTC?
TTC.
No. But still, man, that's a heck of a fall. Oh, it's 2.5 feet wide. I mean, come on, you'd have to be drunk. I mean, you have to be like me to not be.
Dude, that's like human lemmings right there.
Yeah, 2.5 is like.
That's right. I love that game.
Don't touch the rail.
Next email is from Luke Manning, who writes, "Hi, Matt, Mike, and Len. Thanks for answering my question on July 18th. I got back from my vacation on July 6th. I'm just timing this email to see when you read it on the podcast. I'm having a bet with a friend. Well, I hope you won the bet, Luke.
10%.
Next email is from Darcy from Dallas, Texas, who writes, "Love your podcast. It's always entertaining and informative. Whenever we go to the world, we try to get the Columbia restaurant in Celebration for Cuban food. It's a nice break from the parks, and the food is terrific. Are there any other restaurants in Celebration that any of you would recommend?" I've been to that Cuban restaurant. I guess
Is it good?
Columbia. Yeah, it was decent. I'm no Steve Medina. I mean, probably would have thought
Steve Funky Cold Medina.
Oh my god, I never thought of that.
Thank you.
The other one I like in Celebration, I don't know what the name of it. There's a coffee shop right in the center of town over there. I love going over there for breakfast. It's a great breakfast if you're in the area. Definitely check it out.
Definitely. Sweet Rain Man? Go ahead.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Next email is from Tom. Great question here for Scopa. Want to try Trails End this October for dinner one night. Where is parking at Fort Wilderness? Do you have to park up front and take the Fort Wilderness internal loop to get there? Thanks. As someone who's been to Walt Disney World 30 times in the past 20 years, I love hearing everything regarding Walt Disney World.
I think my suggestion would be to plan on going to the Magic Kingdom that evening and go to the Magic Kingdom, and in front of the Magic Kingdom take a launch to Fort Wilderness, and that'll take you right to the settlement and to Trails End. And then when you finish, you can take a boat back. I think it's a nice experience. Not too many people realize that you can take a boat over to Fort Wilderness. It's much more enjoyable than parking the car and saying, okay, which bus should I take? Do I take this one? Do I take that one? And then going through all the loops. I prefer taking the boat over.
If they do have to park, though, do you have to take the internal loop? I thought I went there from Mouse Fest. I could have sworn I drove myself over there.
No, you have to. You park and you have to take. I think it's. I'm not sure which color it is, but there are different colors.
Orange.
It's
orange
or purple or whatever. Yeah.
So you can't
Orange
drive
purple,
up.
yeah.
Basically, what we're saying is you can't just drive up and park 2 feet from the
no.
restaurant. Okay.
No.
Yeah,
No, you're like miles away.
it's far. Yeah.
Yeah. The other option would be to go to some other park, and like Mike said, I mean, if you don't take the boat, you could take the bus over there and keep your car at one of the parks. It's probably a lot easier. Because I know the bus will bring you over there a lot closer. The bus from one of the other resorts.
Well, yes, they told me that the only way I could get there was to take the boat, which is kind of weird because I used to take the bus from. You could take the bus from the TTC, and I used to take the bus from in front of the Magic Kingdom. So it's. I'm guessing that. I don't know. There must be bus service from Fort Wilderness to the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah, there is.
Next email is from Brian, who writes, after listening to Len talk about bringing water bottles into the park, I had to write in and one-up him. When my wife and I went to Walt Disney World for our honeymoon, I purchased a small backpack with a water bladder in it. I got an off-brand from a local sporting goods there rather than a name brand like Camel Pack, so I got more for my money. For about $40, it had the bladder and the storage area, which we put our itinerary folder. I created the one from touringplans.com, and my unofficial guide, ding again, along with the ponchos and sunscreen. At the hotel, each morning, I filled it with as much ice as I could, and the rest of water. Between my wife and I, it would last us the very least all morning until we went back to the hotel for the afternoon break. This was during July, and we went, and it stayed very cold. The bladder was a lifesaver.
So Byron shared an off-brand water bladder with his newlywed wife. She's a lucky woman. I'm just kidding with you, Byron. Yeah, I mean, I have a Camelback. Would my wife do the same thing? Absolutely not. But you got a good woman there.
There you go.
That's love.
Before we go today, I wanted to play a little special treat that we got in our inbox today. Brian Ripper, who's the co-host of the All About the Mouse Disney podcast, sent us this really funny remix. I'm sure you've heard the Walt Disney World Today theme song. Well, this is kind of making fun of myself and Len and Scopa and Newell when we say the word a little too much. So we thank Brian for this really funny bit, and here you go.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you
I'm your host, Matt Hochberg of MGMstudios.org.
Yeah, there's definitely certainly there'll be many more people in the in the hotels and.
That was a tough one.
Or I have no idea.
Outstanding. And we want to mention also that
It's quite fun.
and
They're coming in like crazy. Go Steelers!
No, go Steelers!
Go Steelers!
What? Fabulous. I think.
Hello, New Jersey.
What? You're not instantly focusing on me all the time.
believe it or not, no.
What's up with that?
Live from the Garden of Eden.
Oh my god, I can't get it out of my head.
Mongello. Can't lose up to no good.
There's they smoke.
And Google is your friend. I'm with you. I don't. It's it's sad to see these things because it's definitely it's
Teacups.
and that's it for us today. Very nice.
And again, this episode of Walt Disney World Today has been sponsored by MEI and Mousefan Travel, who specialize in cruises and vacation packages to Disney and other destinations around the world. MEI and Mousefan Travel put up with really annoying podcast hosts like Matt Hochberg and Mike Newell, and they're the authorized Disney vacation planner and the recommended travel planner for allears.net. They provide their signature services with no additional agency fees unless Mike Newell asks for reservations at Nine Dragons. To get a no-obligation quote, just visit them at www.mousefantravel.com.
That's not on the copy.
It certainly is. Ask Annette.
Annette, I want a phone call today.
To find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send
Get
us
to
your
the bottom of
comments.
this.
Visit the Walt Disney World Today website, www.wdwtoday.com. You can also email us at questions@wdwtoday.com. For Lantesta, Mike Scopa, and Mr. Perfect, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
I like turtles.